Dr. Lamya. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
He is an eminent personality in both education and research. You will listen as I just speak for a few minutes. Somehow she's had that capability to use her education, and she started at the University of, and she gained her PhD in structural and molecular biology at the University College in London. And before that, she earned her Master's in Science in Environmental and Technology from the University of New South Wales in Australia. She didn't just get her Master's, she also got a very prestigious award from that university. She's been able to use these qualifications to reach people. And what I found most interesting in her profile is the range of of skills, of capabilities, competencies that are needed today through her consulting organization, helping people, helping organizations in engagement, in talent management, in change management, in communication, in collaboration. These are all new words that even 5 years ago you wouldn't have heard so much in any type of community. But today, and accelerated probably because of the virus and going online and virtual, but these are words we're using all the time. And we're lucky. I asked her a few minutes ago, where are you? And she's here in Muscat with us. But Dr. Lamya has the capability to reach people all over the world. From her profile, she's talking to people in Europe, in Africa, in North America, in Asia. If I carried on, this would be my presentation, but I would much prefer it to be Dr. Lamya's presentation. I don't know how she has time for anything else. So good luck, Dr. Lamya, and welcome to Majlis Al Khonji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. That was very kind. It's always very strange to hear somebody else talk about you. Thank you so much. It was a very kind introduction. And to be honest, I'm very honored and pleased to be amongst the profiled people who are always invited to Majlis Al Khonji. That is a well-reputed majlis for years now. So it's an absolute honor to be amongst you today. I thank you for your time, for logging in, and just wanted to check if the sound is okay with everyone. Let's see thumbs up if it's all good. Okay, great.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, I'll share my screen, and I think we'll just get to the topic. Okay. All right. We just had a little bit of technical issues with the video because it showed low volume. We'll try it again later on, and hopefully all goes well. All right, so thank you very much for joining. I'd like this talk to be very casual, so anybody who wants to jump in halfway through, comment, talk, you can do so. It's very free. I'm a lecturer at Sultan Qaboos University. I've been teaching since 2004. So back and forth, when I did my master's and PhD, I used to come back, teach, and go back and forth. So I've got at least 13, 14 years of teaching. And I thought it'll be nice to share my experience, especially when we had to shift to emergency distance learning. Because of COVID-19, it actually emphasized my previous beliefs of how we need more skills than we think we need for our students to cope in the 21st century. So it's going to be a very friendly chat. I shared the slide just because I'm going to use a lot of visuals, so not too much text, but feel free to ask anything throughout. So we're going to talk about the future of teaching and learning, and in some points we're going to focus on the effect of COVID-19 on teaching and learning. To be honest, I mean, especially that we have people from outside Oman. For people who don't know this, we were blessed to have Sultan Qaboos, the late Sultan Qaboos, who, as soon as he took power, made it a point to transform the education in Oman. So we went from having 3 schools in 1970 to over 1,000 within less than 50 years, within 45 years. We're even now more blessed to have a continuation of that vision with Sultan Haytham, where in his first address to the people, he mentioned, and I'm going to move this on the side because it's covering, he mentioned that education is on the top of the national priorities. And that came from the realization that we need to educate, and it is the education of our youth, education of our children and our grandchildren that is going to transform the country. It's going to take Oman to the next step. It's going to take any country to the next step. And as soon as we have that realization that education is the tool to excel as nations, then we can focus our energy, invest our time and money. And it is really an investment because it's a long-term investment and it needs a lot of energy, money, and dedication. So we're really blessed to have Sultan Haytham, who's put the education in the top of the priority of the national agenda. I'm going to talk about 3 main points in my talk today. What do our graduates need to survive in the 21st century? What are we giving them? And what does the world need? And what do they really have? Where is the gap? Let's discuss together, where is the gap? And then we're going to talk about, so I have three main pillars. The second point is going to be how good are our educational systems? And then is there a need to redefine education? We've probably, most of us heard the term edutainment, which is a blend of education and entertainment. I'm sure everybody who has kids, nieces, nephews, grandchildren knows that all they want now is to have fun. Why can't we have fun during our educational experience? And eventually we're going to talk about the most important part probably, which is the role of higher education in creating future-facing students. What do we mean by future-facing students and how can we create them? And whose job is it? Is it our job, higher education? Is it the schools? Is it the parents? Is it the students themselves? Who should take the full responsibility of their own education? So let's talk about this and let's discuss. A lot of the things here I've been reading, so I kind of read material and then I put my own input here, which I'm happy to share with everyone, but I would also like to hear from everyone in the platform because we're blessed to have all of you highly educated people here, and I was very happy to know that Professor Yusra, I'm not sure if she's part of the participants, but she said she will be joining. So I would like to hear from people who are actually engaged or involved in the higher education. So what do our graduates need to survive the 21st century? Is it the degree? Do they need a degree, a BSc, a master's, a PhD? Because it seems to be that is the focus of it. We tend to translate the term education to a piece of paper. He's highly educated, he has a PhD. He's highly educated, he has a master's or a BSc. So is that really what we mean? Is that really what our students need? So is that really a degree? I'm going to try one more attempt for the video, and if it's not, I'm going to give this to Riham to try to play on her desktop. So let's see if the voice is clear here. No? Okay, I'll ask Riham to help here. If Riham can jump in.
Yes, okay, let me try from my end. Sorry. Is it clear?
I can't hear anything from my end.
No.
Should I close sharing the screen for you to do that, or is it okay to have my screen open?
Yes, can you please close yours so that I can try from my end?
Yeah, all yours.
Please let me know if you all can hear.
No, Riham, it's not coming through. Let's carry on with Dr. Lamya's presentation.
Sure. We'll go back to sharing the screen. Okay, so I had 4 clips to share in between my slides just as icebreakers, and they're all like 30-second, 1 minute, but for some reason the volume is not working really well, so I'll have to do it on his behalf. So what he was saying, the gent, thank you so much. So what the gent was saying is that who is an intellect? Is it an intellect the one who has and this is in a graduation of University of Florida, is it an intellect, defining an intellect, is it tied or bound by a degree? Is it bound by a piece of paper? Or is it the person who is constantly able to learn? And that is really what I wanted to get to. An educated person is a person who has the ability to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. And an educated person also, and an intellect, is the one who can actually use his information and knowledge to serve the world. And if we put this straight, and if we put this in a box at the beginning while we're talking now, and really keep on remembering it, if our goal of educating our students is to create citizens, ideal citizens, and that is a lot of the time missed, this point is missed, and a lot of the times we need to create ideal citizens who truly serve the community, truly serve the country and the world. So having that in mind, we need to think, what does the world need? Are we prepared? What are we providing our students? And what do we actually need to change in our educational system in order to create more capable citizens who have the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn? And I'm going to share my experience with COVID-19 because it really showed, not only in the educational sector, even by companies and organizations, which companies and which educational systems were lean and agile and managed to be able to cope with the very fast emerging external forces of the world, and which one failed. I actually had to change the school of my kids, and I made the decision in a split second because I saw the response of the school towards emergency distance learning, and I compared it to other schools in Oman, and I said, why are my kids going to this? And it's one of the most elite schools in Oman, supposedly. So I actually made a decision to change them because this is the true time to see which companies, organization, educational system, or non-educational that is really doing a good job in being lean and agile. We speak about agility all the time as a skill for the 21st century. So I like this tweet that I like Vala Ashfar's tweets. He's always got amazing stuff to say. And he said, the ability to learn, unlearn, relearn, and change yourself is a superpower. Absolutely, short and sweet. Because it means you're able to change, to adapt to the very fast changes. So in the illiterate in the 21st century, there's not the one that doesn't have a higher degree, not at all. It's the one who don't know how to read. It's not the one who can't read and write, but it's those who are unable to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And this is a very important key point that I'm going to come back to very quickly and throughout my talk today. I discovered that I'm illiterate in a lot of things, a lot, of course. The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know, to be honest. So I made up my mind to learn some of the important skills that I've been running away for years because I thought, no, it's okay, other people can do this. But now with COVID-19, there's no running away from technology. There's no running away from learning things very quickly. You have to either face it or you crash, you fall. So what do our graduates need? Again, I repeat, they need to learn. They have the ability to learn. And we're going to see what do we mean by learning? Whose responsibility is it? Is it the instructor? Is it the professor in the university or the teacher at school? Or is it the student? Or is it a mixture of both? And the parents. So the ability to learn, unlearn, you don't need to stick to outdated information. We have pens now. Nobody uses feathers and ink to write. Yeah, we went from feathers to pens to typing. So we need to be able to unlearn as well and then relearn very quickly. Why? Simply, you'll lose your job. Look at this picture over here. So in 2009, you had this guy taking a video of a movie or, photographing wildlife or something in a helicopter. And 10 years later, both the pilot and the photographer lost their jobs because now you don't need that, just no drones. So this is just one example of so many other examples, so many other jobs that will be lost. And I don't want to be a pessimist and say, you know what, fourth industrial revolution is coming. Robots are going to take our place. That is very this is overstatement. It's an overstatement. It's exaggerated. There are 157 jobs that are waiting for us until 2040. It's not that bad. There are a lot of skills that robots don't have and will not have in the near future. And we'll talk about that as well. But that does not change the fact that we need to constantly upgrade yourself. I used to get a lot of invitations to speak at conferences and talks, whether in Oman or outside Oman. And I got to a point where I started apologizing for my interviews. And I said, I don't have new content. Give me some time to upgrade my knowledge. Give me time to read the latest articles. Give me time to do more research. I am tired of saying, I'm bored of my own talk. So I give myself time to upgrade myself. Otherwise, your bubble will burst very sooner than you think. And people are going to say, هذه ما عندها محتوى. She's saying the same thing. So we need to invest in ourselves. And it's very easy for people who are outspoken to get consumed by invitations and talks that they stop or they forget to upgrade themselves. And soon they will be burnt out and left behind. They'll be very, very behind. So I decided that 2020 is going to be my year of upgrading myself. And this is a promise on air that hopefully by the end of the year, I would be a better person than the beginning. I have good news. I just got an email a few minutes before I started this talk that our fourth scientific research paper has been accepted for this year. It's the 20th overall, 20 scientific papers, but it's the 4th one for 2020. And with COVID-19 and with the situation, I'm happy to share that we're very pleased to have them in Q1 journals, very high impact factor. So hopefully I'm on the right path. Now, does anybody want to say anything, or should I continue blabbing to the end of the talk and then have all the questions at the end? What do you think, Mike?
I think you're doing really well, and we're used to listening to the presentation and then asking some questions, but
sure,
you've got us transfer. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I got the chance to have a bit of my coffee, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what do our graduates need for the 21st century. We all agreed that they need to be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And we also know that in the 21st century and the 4th industrial revolution coming over, we need other skills other than the technical skills. There are other skills which I find very important. They're very simple, by the way. They sound like common sense, but sometimes common sense is not common. And that's why I'm going to repeat, which I think are very important qualities that every person should have. And really, we as parents and educators should instill in our children, our nieces, our nephews, and grandchildren and students. Compassion, sympathy, empathy. These are terms that sound very easy, very simple. Everybody's probably thinking, yeah, but yeah, you know, just be nice to people, think of others, you know, be thoughtful. But you know what? If we really did have enough of this in the world, then we wouldn't be suffering from a lot of the main problems that the world is suffering right now. We all heard of George Floyd's issue, right, of racism. Do we teach our children inclusion and diversity in schools? It is the time now to teach our children inclusion and diversity, that we are all the same. And this is in our teachings of Islam. There's no difference. In the last khutbah of Prophet Muhammad, he said, لا فرق بين أبيض أعجمي أو عربي إلا بالتقوى. There's no difference between a Western or a colored person or a white person, except for his good deeds and his good as a good person. So people are seen as people. We tend to forget, we think of basic sciences. We think of math, art, science, history, geography. It's great. That's all abstract science, right? But does the world really need to know the periodic table in chemistry? And sorry to Dr. Ashraf, if he's here, he's going to comment on this probably. He'll give a few examples of why you need to know the periodic table. But again, as a biologist, is it really important to know the sequence of nucleotides in a gene? Or is it more like, how can we use genomics to treat sickle cell? How can we develop CRISPR technology? That's biotechnology. So we need to really move from abstract science to applying science and art and history in our lives, to fight racism, to stop wars, to have more sense of biophilia. And biophilia means the love for the environment, to combat climate change. These are the issues that are facing the world right now. This is the world is suffering from. And if it was not for COVID-19, I mean, COVID-19 had to break through to calm down the mess in the world and stop a lot of the craziness that's happened. But it also uncovered a lot of other issues, trusting leaders in the world, racism, and other kinds of issues that are being addressed. So I believe that we need to teach and educate our students on how to be ideal citizens by applying the knowledge that they have in really fighting existing problems and issues. Social work is very important. And to be very honest, I wanted to share, I started first Googling photos of refugees and poor people across the world on Google. And I said, you know what, I'm actually going to share my own photos, just because I wanted to show that if I can do it, then anybody else can do it. And it's so easy, and it's so rewarding, and it just feels amazing. So these are pictures of, the middle one is with me with the orphans in Bangladesh. So there was about 65 girls, orphans in Bangladesh, and we visited them in the orphan town. We gave them toys and paid for their education, tuition fees. We had, at the bottom you see the hands of a very young child who was 5 years old. The people in the center didn't even notice his hands, and they're completely cracked. A simple cream was enough for him to get better. But they're suffering. Nobody even knows about them. The one on the right is me with the refugees, the Syrian refugees in Jordan. And the one on the left of the two boys, the younger one, the little one there is Talal, my son. So I took him with me to to these trips, because this is what I call education. We need more humans in the world. We need more people who are going to make a difference. And it starts really with the realization that one person can make a difference. If I have to pinpoint one blessing that I have, I would say that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this pair of glasses where I see that, you know, it can be a great world, yeah? And that one person can make a difference. I truly believe one person can make a difference. And I have so many stories to share from people I know within our community or outside Oman who have made huge differences. And they don't have to be very famous people, by the way. You don't have to be an influencer or rich or whatever. You can be any person and make a difference. So this is the kind of things that we need to inspire. Inspiration and motivation are a very important trait in the 21st century. There's so much stress, there's so much darkness, there's so much negativity. People need to be lifted up, and never underestimate the power of inspiration, because you can actually transform people's lives, and each life you transform will transform another 10 people. So it's a domino effect. And because of that, I actually launched a program called Jalasat Mulhimun. I'm not sure people are aware of this, where it's in a platform where a bunch of very kind and volunteers that I put together, aged between 18 to 30 years old. We decided to have a platform to inspire the Omani youth and the Arab world. And the last session was in October 2019. And we had 4,500 attendees in the cultural center in Sultan Qaboos University, which just shows you how much it means to people to inspire them. I had a talk from a fellow YGL, a young global leader. I was being selected as a young global leader this year by the World Economic Forum. So I got to meet amazing people from the YGL community, and he shared a slide with me, and I went through his slides, and it just showed how motivation and inspiration can actually change the rules of the game. If we look at leaders, for example, around the world, and I'm going to share a slide in a bit now, you're going to see the ones who did well, the ones who have a high emotional intelligence. And I'll share a slide in just a bit. So things like kindness, gratitude, humanity, underestimated, not spoken about a lot. And I don't understand why, because I think it makes the whole difference. And this is what we really need to instill in our children. Why? That makes us different from robots. Just take a few seconds to read a comment on this slide. This is a robot applying for an interview, and he's being asked, can you tell me, can you persuade? Can you emphasize? Can you inspire? Can you build, reparate? Can you manage emotions? And the answer, of course, is not. So yes, robotics will take over a certain set of jobs, more of the ones that are automated, okay? But then that creates other types of jobs for us, and that's what I'm going to emphasize towards the end. I read an excellent report of the future jobs of 2040, and for me, it was actually building my information. I thought, wow, there's all of these things that we're not even preparing our kids for. When do we start? How do we start? Where do we start? These are the kind of things that I'd like to discuss with everybody in today's platform. Unfortunately, I won't be able to play this video either, but what this guy was saying is that on the importance of emotional intelligence, he's saying that if you have a team, if you're a CEO of a company and you have a team, fire the negative person. Find the person in your team that just brings everybody down. Doesn't matter how high his position is and how much money he generates to the company, fire him, because it's like a weed. Yeah, it's like a bad weed that's going to destroy the company in the long run. That's the difference between a leader and a manager. A leader engages the team, makes everybody feel comfortable, everybody gives 100%. I highly recommend the book Multiplier by Dr. Liz Wiseman. It's an excellent book. I have it over here. I can share it in a bit, where she talks clearly, beautifully, and very simply about the difference between a leader and a manager. We have a lot of managers in our organizations. We have very few leaders, and we need more leaders to make a better world. Emotional intelligence is very important. This is not a joke, but I want you to look at the slide and look at the different leaders and what has, this was really interesting. Again, this is from Dr. Yasser from one of the YGL from the YGL community. And I really like this slide. We were discussing yesterday, we were debating in the group saying, who makes a better leader, men or female? Because we're talking about the importance of emotional intelligence. And we said, okay, look at the female leaders and how they responded to COVID-19. Where were the successful models? New Zealand, everybody knows of the New Zealand story. Denmark, Norway, Finland, Iceland, Germany. And on the other hand, we all know what Donald Trump has been doing. So emotional intelligence can't be underestimated. It is more important than you think. I think we need more people talking about emotional intelligence. We have in Oman very good examples of Amani ladies who give courses on emotional intelligence that I really want to enroll in. Dr. Yasmin Al-Blushi is amazing. She's certified for teaching emotional intelligence and testing it. In the organization, we have Ibtisam Al-Khaifi as well from Simat, who has we also have Dr. Muhammad Al-Asfour, and they all have ways of assessing emotional intelligence and saying how important and testing how important it is for your organization, for the performance of the organization. And I see this with my students clearly. You can turn the table 180 degrees by using your emotional intelligence. It's incredible. We have 330 students in Biology 1. We communicate with them clearly. I've seen attacks on social media on other emergency distance learning in Sultan Qaboos University saying, you know, it's not lean and agile or whatever, or the students are not content. And I really think it's because some of the academics fail to communicate with emotional intelligence with their students. On the contrary, we got letters of thanks, of appreciation. We got so many emails and messages, whether on social media or email, saying that it was smooth, how much they highly appreciate it. And more than 50% of my section got A's and B's. And I have no problem with that because assessments were vigorous. But the thing is, you can turn a student from an F student to an A student just by being emotionally intelligent. And I'm speaking about this based on my experience, and I have so many examples. So we should not underestimate the power of emotional intelligence. It's a very important skill, especially in the 21st century. Patience, everybody needs patience. Everything is so fast, everything changes very quickly. We need a lot of patience. You need self-awareness to survive. Being the bigger person and apologizing makes a whole lot of a difference. All of these skills, or gratitude, I would say, or these attitudes are very important. Sincerity is very important. Can we teach sincerity in education? Can we teach our students to be sincere? Absolutely. An example, very common thing that happens. Students come to you, and the educators would know this, especially professors in the universities. At the end of the semester, we'll come and knock your door. Victoria, I just need 4 marks to pass. Victoria, can you just, you know, I need just 10 marks and I need an A because I need to move to medicine. Now, what happens here? You have 2 types of academics. The ones with budget, and they will give them the 5 and 10 marks in order to achieve their dreams. And then the other ones like me who say, sit down, we need to talk. What happens? The same student, if you give the student and you think you're doing them a favor by helping them and giving them these free grades, you are destroying the student. You know what you're doing? You are actually graduating a student who will go in a job market in his company, and he is the same person who's going to start asking for money to get things done or bribing other people to get the job done. We are creating failures. We are creating students who are going to depend on asking people for favors. We're not creating independent students. So I would sit down, explain to them. I said, yes, of course, I'll be more than happy to help you. Tell me how. Turn around the table, say, okay, sure, absolutely, I would love to help you. That's what I do, I help my students. So tell me, what do you want? Oh, you know, Doctor, I need 5 marks. So I say, okay, so would you like me to give you 5 marks for nothing and not give any of the other 330 students? Is that how you think I'm going to help you? Turn it around, and they go, they realize that it's wrong. The thing is, we've been training them for so long to do so that we have made them think that it's a form of help. And that's why it's very important to communicate with the students and teach them life skills. And you can. I'm a biologist, but 50% or 60% of my lecture is on life skills. It's not about how the DNA is formed or whatever. It's about how to communicate science, how to speak, how to negotiate, how to secure deals, elevator pitches. How can you include art and design with biology? What's biology got to do with engineering? What's biology got to do with NASA? Do you know that there's a relationship between biology and NASA? You know, you're doing all those testing or, you know, creating foods for the astronauts that are just pills of spirulina, which are algae that have 60% protein. So NASA has deals with biologists like myself to create spirulina tablets that is equal to a piece of steak. You can't take steak to outer space, but you can take a tablet of spirulina, 1,000 milligrams of protein in a small capsule. So yes, that's what we need to teach them. They need to see why they're learning biology, why they're learning chemistry, why they're learning engineering, why they're learning math, why they're learning chemistry. If they see it, they start loving science. They start loving to learn. We need to stop spoon feeding them in a nice way. They need to know why you're not spoon feeding them. Communication, communication, communication is extremely important. We can be tough on them, but we need to explain to them why we are assessing them in a specific way. Trust me, they will embrace it beautifully once they know why we are being strict. So although I am strict, in my teaching, I explain to them exactly why I am doing what I'm doing, and they take it with open arms. And the average of my sections, I'm very proud to say, is very high, because you bring the best out of them, and that's what we need to do as educators. We have SDGs, going back to the slides, we have the SDGs, and if you look around them, it's all about humanitarian things: no poverty, saving the environment, renewable energy, health, refugees. Are we training our students to be able to address the sustainability goals, or is it just talk? When do we start? And this is collective effort. This needs to start from a very young age. This needs to start at the age of 5. Teaching them to love their environment, to love their neighbor, to inclusion, diversity, open their horizons, make them see that they can actually integrate art with other sciences, or history with math, or geometry with physics. And you know, these are the things that we need to do, and it's integrative effort. It starts from school, preschool, school, and then higher education. And that's why I left the higher education part to the end, because it's really, it's a system. It builds up on each other. The second pillar that I was going to talk about is how good are our educational systems? Do we need to redefine education? I think we need a radical change in our educational system. I think we need to what we need is disruptive change. And I repeat it, we need disruptive change. The current system is not going to work. If it's going to work now, it's not going to be ready for, it's not going to be there, and it's not going to be even relevant to our children. The generation Alpha, those born in 2010, so 10-year-olds and younger, by 2040, they will be cursing us for not teaching them what they really need to learn and survive in 2040 in the future. So for those of you who have children in Generation Alpha, or grandchildren or nieces and nephews, 10 years and younger, we need to listen up. Our educational system is heavily outdated, very outdated. And if we want our educational systems to change, we need to start changing the way we train our educators. So again, train the trainer concept, yeah? And we need to start now. It's not too late. I'm very optimistic. It's not too late. What we have is not bad, but we always hope for the best and the better. And we can only prepare, and I'm going to say this twice. We can only prepare for the future if we can imagine the right future. So if we imagine the right future and we imagine it being great and big, then you'll be able to prepare for it. But if you think, and if you imagine the future as it is now, then how are you going to prepare for it? If I talk about space exploration, or I talk about training our students to engineer hyperloops, and people are going to go, are you crazy? There's no hyperloops now, right? But if I don't imagine it now, how am I going to train our kids? How are we going to train our students now for the future? And this is why we're talking about these things right now, hoping that the mindsets will change, and then we start preparing really for the future. Again, I can't share this video because of the sound, but I'm happy to. I sent all the slides to Rihan, and I told her that everybody's free to share. I did these slides, so everybody can use this anytime. It's for everyone to benefit from, and hopefully when you get the slides, you will be able to listen to these videos. But what this guy is saying, I really like him, although he's kind of like, but you know, he says it makes sense what he's saying. The school systems are heavily outdated. Do you know that in Google and Silicon Valley, you don't have to have a degree to be hired? Google and Silicon Valley and all these huge tech companies, you don't even require a degree to be hired. It's all based on skills. So we need to really define a lot of the things. How are people hired? What kind of jobs we have? Is a degree really important? Why do we treat all the students the same way? Why do we treat all the students in the schools the same way? They have different capabilities, different abilities. Why is it tied by age? So many questions. I mean, I ask myself this question. I don't have the answer. And I'm hoping that we can discuss all these things later on. So again, our degree is just a piece of paper. Your education is seen in your behavior. And it strikes me really when people say, Doctora, أنت واجد متواضعة. Doctora, you're very humble. And I think to myself, why on earth should I be not humble just because you have a PhD? They have this thing in their mind that if you have a high degree or high qualification, you know everything, you're very smart, and you need to be snob. That's the total opposite. The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. The more you know, science and knowledge, the more you realize that there's so much out there that you are not even close to knowing. So that actually should make you more humble. It's the people who think that they know it all, who are the ones are living there, you know, Honolulu or the La La Land. So it's really, the PhD means absolutely nothing. And your master's means absolutely nothing if you don't behave the right way, if you don't invest your knowledge in serving your community, if you don't invest your knowledge in changing your surrounding, it's just a paper until you do something with it. And that realization happened to me in 2014, when I thought that my dream was to become a professor in the university, because my father's a professor in the university. He's got a PhD in numerical analysis and mathematics, and I always wanted to be like my dad. And I thought, you know, that's my dream since I was 15. I'm going to be a professor in the university, and yep, that's it. So as soon as I finished my Viva and I got my PhD, I thought, no, I'm 31. This can't be it. This is not my dream. Come on, let's start from scratch. And I'm going to share with you the tool I use to rediscover my dream. My dreams are evolving, if I wanted to say. They're evolving. So what I thought was my dream, I wouldn't say was not, but it was a building block for bigger dreams. And the closer and the more dreams I achieved, one of them was to become a young global leader in the World Economic Forum. I never thought I was going to get it. And alhamdulillah, I got it this year. And I thought, okay, you know, all of these are tools. We're still talking about tools here. All of these tools help you, empower you to achieve your bigger dream. And for me, it's to empower the youth, the 200 million Arab youth in the world. And I'm in the line now, building the connection, started with Jalasat Malhimoun, talks, you know, al-Muhtawa al-Arabi, you know, it's in the process, but I'm still not there yet. And hopefully if anybody can help support, I'll be more than happy. The YGL community has been amazing in supporting, and hopefully we'll be able to do things together, inshallah. So my point is that your degree really means something only when you invest it to make a difference in the world. This was a very good video about education in Finland. It really struck me. You know that they select it's one of the highest paid jobs in Finland. You need to have a master's to teach primary school in Finland. They don't have traditional classrooms. It's all based on integrated, multidisciplinary topics. So for example, they will teach them physics in the playground and tell them, you know, why is the roundabout going faster when you have so-and-so kids? And then they take the kids off and they see how the roundabout, you know, in the playground changes its speed. And that's how they teach them physics. How do we teach our students? They teach them bio. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, if a country can do it, then why can't we? We need to invest time and money, and we need decision makers. We need very courageous decision makers, leadership to say, you know what, this is going to be expensive, it's disruptive, but it has to be done. Why? Because it's an investment, and in the future, it will definitely pay off. We try to do it in a smaller scale in our classrooms in the university, and the students, the energy in the lecture is amazing, and that's one of the things I missed during COVID-19, because I had to give my lectures online. But it's totally different in the classroom. You know, we throw things at each other because we're starting, you know, and we get them down and they explain and we have fun and we joke, and then they challenge me and I challenge them. It's fun. Education should be fun. It's edutainment. It's education and entertainment. If everybody does this, the kids will not want to come back from school. But we make it so boring that the kids don't want to go, and they all, you know, yelling, yay, that we don't have any school. So I really think that it's a huge responsibility. It needs a lot of passion, dedication, and time. But I think if Finland can do it, then we can do it as well. I'm going to come to my last point, in where I emphasize a lot of the very important things and maybe mention a few crazy ideas here. But what is the role of higher education in creating future-facing students? And I would say first that the role of higher education is a continuation of the role of the schooling system. So if the education at the schooling phase is done in the right way, it will make our job easier. But if we have an intake of students, according to one of the reports, that have critical thinking abilities at the university level of a fourth grader in the United States of America, we have a problem. There's a report that says that the intakes of the graduates of high school, and I don't know, I didn't look into the details of the paper, but I've seen it shared widely in social media. It actually ached my heart that I didn't even read it yet, and I don't know how true it is, but it is a scientific published paper. That the study shows that they did a study on the graduates of high school, and the critical thinking ability is of a fourth year grader in the United States of America. To some extent, I'm not surprised. I teach first and second year students, and they don't even, a lot of them are great. They're very hardworking, I must say, very hardworking, very easy to motivate, very quick learners. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the confidence to criticize. They don't have the confidence to challenge the system. They don't have the confidence to say, they don't have a chance to think outside the box. They're confined in a little box. They don't leave their comfort zone. I swear to God, as soon as I do mini experiments in the lecture, where I push them to, encourage them to step out of their comfort zone using bonus mark strategy that always works. Yeah, I'll give you a bonus mark if you come down and you say this. I'll give you a bonus mark if you ask that. I'll give you. Then I start encouraging them to step out of their comfort zone. And I say, look, if you make a mistake, that's fine. If you feel like, what's the worst that can happen? You get it wrong. The fear of fear is an issue. The fear of failure is the biggest barrier. Once you break that fear barrier, once you step out of your comfort zone, wow, a whole world, and you discover your own abilities. You're thinking, I never knew that I can do that. And the younger they discover that they can, and the younger they step out of their comfort zone and they discover, or they break that the fear or the barrier of fear, then they will do amazing things at a younger age. But what's happening now is it's taking them such a long time to start daring to step out of their comfort zone. And that's what needs to change. We need to encourage them at the school level to step out of their comfort zone. We need to encourage them at the school level to find their purpose. We need to encourage them at the school level to not be scared of failure, because that's how we're going to develop. I'm blessed. I'm really blessed because I come from a family that allowed me to do anything. They allowed me to make mistakes. They encouraged me to make mistakes. They taught me that they were very proud of me for trying. It is the effort that we need to emphasize on, not the results. In the Quran, we have a verse that says, and I hope I don't get it wrong, وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. All right? وَأَنَّ كُلِّ إِنسَانٍ مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge us on our effort, not on our results. This is Allah. This is our teaching. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, says, I will judge you on your efforts and not on your outcome, who are we to judge our children on their outcomes? We should judge them on their efforts. And that's why the first thing I look at on my children, I have 3 boys. I have a seventh year and a third year and a kindergarten. The first thing I look at on their reports is the effort side. Sometimes I ignore the results because the effort for me matters. If you're putting 100% effort and you get a C, I'm going to try to help you, tackle the challenges. If you get an A with 0 effort, it means he's got a talent. He's talented. It comes naturally with this kid. We need to understand our children, understand their needs, understand their wants. If you find him interested in a specific topic, set him up with meetings with professors. Talal gave a lecture at the university 4 times. He started at the age of 7. He gave a lecture in the university. I took him to my classroom because I sensed he likes education. I said, Talal, you're giving me a lecture on viruses. You're giving a lecture on water. And he came and he stood in front of 100 students giving him a lecture. Last one was a couple of months ago. Let him explore. He said he's interested in snakes. I drove him all the way to Nizwa, met Dr. Khalid Sulaiman al-Hashmi there in Nizwa, who spent the whole day explaining to my son about snakes and just feeding that thirst for knowledge, right? This is our duty as parents. When we talk about duties and responsibilities, it is our duty as parents as well. Parents, educators, the student themselves. It's a triangle. It's a triangle. So everybody is part of educating the society, not only the school system. Everybody goes, oh, we have bad schools. Okay, what about you as a parent? What are you doing? Where are your efforts? You can still have future-facing students if you put more effort on your children. So no excuses. It would be easier on us as parents, of course, if we have an educational system that supports it. But if we don't, it's not the end of the world. You can still play a role. Just like our parents played a role in our lives and created future-facing students, we can do the same with our children. So it's not only the responsibility of the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Higher Education, it's also the responsibility of the parents to inspire their children. So this is a fantastic report that I read a couple of days ago. It's a report on the future of jobs of 2040. And it's saying that there's 157 jobs until 2040. That's a lot of jobs. We have a lot of people complaining about no jobs. Why is that an issue? I still can't get down to the point of whose responsibility. Is it responsibility of the government to employ all the graduates? Is it really? Why? Why is it? I don't think it is. right? And then you have people attacking, say, oh yeah, but they've educated us. Yeah, that's a tool. You're on your own now. Go find your way out. It's البقاء للأقوى, right? وللأفضل وللspecial one. You have to be able to adapt, and that is what we want to create. We have students who graduated from, earth science and geology, and are doing things with 3D printing. Why? They learned that, they taught themselves 3D printing, and they're doing an amazing job in the field. Yeah, and we have a lot of examples. We have physicists. We have from different backgrounds. Inotech is a pure 100% Omani company that has been providing Ministry of Health with 3D printed personal protective equipment during COVID-19. Fresh graduates from Sultan Qaboos University. Were they taught 3D printing in SKU? No. That's the point. It's the students who need to, they were probably educated in SKU to learn how to learn, or they give them the basics of the math and science and the physics, but then they actually had to take that forward. We can't fully depend on educational systems. It is our responsibility as students, or their responsibility as students, to feel that their education is their responsibility, especially at the higher education level. Unfortunately, our students are used to spoon feeding. I have emails sent to me saying, like, how many species of algae and what percentage of oil? I'm thinking, really? It would take you less time to Google that than send me an email and wait for my answer. And my answer would always be, ask Siri, Google it. Because if I give them the answer, I'm not a good educator. You know what? I don't care if they love me or not. They might think I'm tough. Yep, well, you know what? I don't care. Because for me, I'm very passionate about education. What really matters is that you become a better version of yourself and you become independent. My goal as an educator is that my students don't need me. I don't want my students to need me. That's my goal as an educator, to make them independent, to make them be able to learn by themselves. That's when I say I succeeded. But if I have students by the end of the year asking me silly questions, I'm like, okay, what have you been doing for a whole semester? Couldn't you inspire them to do this themselves? And this is the attitude and mentality we should have with our students. So again, if you have a child who was born in 2010, so he's 10 years old or less, a child, a niece, nephew, or grandchild, please listen up to this one, okay? These are Generation Alpha, and this is what they're gonna go through. So are they prepared or not? What do the future jobs look like? Of course, I'm sure you're not surprised. Robotics on the top of the list. This is all according to the report I've read, which was, let me just give credits to the organization. I think I have it here. Do I have it listed? Yeah, at the bottom there. Future Foresight Foundation in Abu Dhabi. So it's about 40-page report. I'll be happy to send it to Riham if you're interested. She can share it with all of you, inshallah, because it has the details of each one. Robotics came at the top of the list. Yeah. So if the jobs in the future are going to be in the fourth industrial revolution, if we're going to be replaced, a lot of the jobs are going to be replaced by robots, then we should be creating other jobs related to robotics. So we need engineers to fix the robots. We need programmers to program the robots, right? We need, there's actually, what made me laugh, it says robotic cosmetic surgery. That was listed as one of the jobs. Robotic cosmetic surgery. I'm sure there's fine details to it. It's not probably the way we think it is, but basically these are the kind of jobs that we're not even aware of. We've never heard of them before. So we need to start learning about them now. Another job is big data. Anything related to big data. It's incredible how much information, opportunities, and market there is for big data. So for example, what happens is that you have a lot of big data. You need an analyst to analyze this big data, and then you have opportunities. And this can be applied anywhere and everywhere. I was listening to a webinar a couple of days ago. I think it was part of the World Government Summit, if I'm not mistaken. And they were talking about Angham. No, it was a Harvard Business Review. They were talking, it was the guy from Lebanon, I can't recall his name. He was talking about how he used big data for the application Anghami. Anghami is an application for music. And he was saying that how he studied behavioral consumer behavior through the big data of the application for Anghami. So they could figure out the moods of the people listening and tuning into Anghami and the different times. So they said that, you know, it went down during Ramadan, it went up after Eid. And he said suddenly in COVID-19 at the beginning, the music, listening to music went low because people were turning back to Allah, you know, like, oh, listening to like Quran and more like religious stuff. And then after some time it went back to, and this is all through analyzing big data. Do we have kids or children or people who are ready to analyze big data in the future? Because that's a huge market. So we need to be teaching our kids big data. Drones is being used extensively already from now, and I mean, even now it's being used to extinguish fires. It's being used to deliver medicine. It's being used in Oman, it's being used to pollinate date palm trees in مشروع مليون نخلة, million date palm project. Yeah, there's a Omani, again, I'm very proud to say there's a fully Omani company, very young, Tech and this drone company, they're very young kids. They're like all in their 20s and they're doing an excellent job. And we need more people like them. I don't think it's because of their age. It comes from the internal drive. You have these examples of people, who have internal drive and they do it no matter what the circumstances are. These are examples of fantastic Omani companies that are doing a good job. They were funded by OTF, Oman Technology Fund, and Yusuf Al-Hafi talks about one of this example a lot. It can be used in defense. The United States of America invested billions of dollars for this kind of technology because you can use it in wars. You can destroy a whole country without having a single human being in that country by sending these kind of drones. So where are we from this? We have one example. Is that enough? Why do we keep on sharing the same example? Because we don't have enough. We always mention the same examples in Oman, Enotech, drone, this, because we only have very few. So we're happy. We're very happy with what we have, but we are greedy. Yeah, we are greedy for more good. And that's what we need to train our students on. Biotechnology and genomics is really important. A lot of people say, yeah, biology, yeah, okay, it's nice, it's fun, you understand life. No, you save lives. You don't just understand life, you save lives when you understand biotechnology, when you understand the applications of biotechnology. And it really upsets me that a lot of people in Oman don't understand biotechnology. It's not the same as basic biology. Yeah, biotechnology is using genetic engineering tools as one field. Yeah, there's so many fields and so many applications for biotechnology. There's so many colors. There's something called blue biotechnology, white biotechnology, red biotechnology, depending on the application. If it's used in, for example, medicine, they call it red. If it's used in the oceans, it's called blue. Green is for agriculture. Why? Because you can do so much with playing with genes. You can create crops that are resistant to heat, salinity. The Batina region is full of dying plants because it has very high salinity. If we engineer the plants to resist that salinity, then we are taking part in solving an economic issue, a local economic problem, right? We are contributing to the GDP and the economy of the country. So this is how we tie things together, and this is how we need to educate our students, that their education matters. Biotechnology, CRISPR technology. I'm not sure if you heard of CRISPR technology, but if not, please read about it. CRISPR technology is a technology used for gene editing. So we know that, for example, in Oman, عندنا خلايا الدم المنجلية, sickle cell trait, or sickle cell disease, where a lot of people are actually suffering from it, and it's literally because of a change in a swap in one base pair. So what does CRISPR technology do? The enzyme called Cas9 comes and it cuts a specific part of the gene and gets rid of it, and now there's something called base, I think it's called base pairing, or base, I just read about it 2 days ago. It's one of the latest in Nature Biotechnology, where you can actually just swap that one nucleotide and reverse the effect of the point mutation. So this can be used a lot in medicine. It can be used a lot in agriculture. You know that you can grow meat in the lab? And this is news for Muhandis Saleh Shanferi. Maybe you should hire me. You should hire me. You know what? You can actually grow meat in the laboratory. And that is one of the features. زراعة اللحم, زراعة اللحوم في المختبر. So you have a lot of course, regulations and a lot of jobs coming around biotechnology and genomics. Blockchain technology, we've all heard of these terms. Blockchain, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, space science and astrobiology. All of these are going to be the scope of the future of jobs. Not in the whole world. I'm talking about the whole world. 3D printing has been used. I was once in Dubai walking around in the mall in the Burj Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, and they had a stall where they were 3D printing food, cookies and cupcakes with 3D printing. So imagine making like, and Muhandis Saleh Shanferi actually gave it in Majlis Al Khonji, I think a couple of weeks ago during Ramadan. He spoke about 3D printing of food and how you can actually 3D print a dinosaur for your child made of spinach or something. you know, it makes it more appealing. So that's a business, that's an economy. But we need to train our students for this, these kind of education. Space science and astrobiology. Astrobiology is finding life in space. We heard of the SpaceX missions, what NASA is doing. We don't have to go too far. The Emirates, مشروع Mars, yeah, that is led by Her Excellency Maali Noura Al-Amiri. She is a YGL with us. She's a very nice girl. I'm in touch with her. MashaAllah alayha, very modest, down to earth, and she's doing an amazing job leading the Mars mission of the UAE. These are our neighbors. We can do the same. I'm very optimistic that we can do the same, but we need to start now. We need to start. Aim for them. Even aim for the moon, even if you fall, you land amongst the stars. We used to be told this since we were kids, right? And we really need to transform that into real life. Renewable energy. I'm very glad we're taking very good strides in renewable energy in Oman. Alhamdulillah. We have solar energy in Dhafar. Wind energy in Dhafar. We have solar panels, mainly sponsored and funded by PDO. And Sharikat Nafad Lataqa, Abdullah Saadi has and his colleagues have a solar panel company. Again, 100% Omani. That's why I'm optimistic. You see, we have a nice example from every field, but I'm just greedy. I just want more, all right? I want them faster, all right? So we have really great examples in Oman who are setting the scene, and these people can actually can be utilized and sponsored. Actually, you know what? We really need to support these. If we only have 1 or 2 Omani companies who are doing this amazing job, we really need to take their hand. We really need to support them financially and through guidance to take them to the next level. We only have very few of them. PDO has been doing a great job at Petroleum Development of Oman. They recently changed their name or have a section called Energy Petroleum of Oman, which is part of PDO, right? Because they really focus on renewable energy. And I want to salute here Raul, the managing director. I've met him so many times, amazing guy, great leader, who has transformed really the concept of renewable energy. And I think he is one of the leading persons in supporting renewable energy. PDO funded my research on biofuel production. I produce biodiesel from date seed pits. It started off with an idea a few years ago with my team. So we take the date seeds, extract the oil from it, and we convert it to biodiesel. I had a literally 2-minute chat with Raul in a conference, and I said, this is what I'm doing. I want your support. Exchange business cards, talking about opportunity. This is what I teach my kids. When I say kids, I mean my students, okay? This is what I teach my students. How to pitch your idea. I am a biologist, but I don't only teach biology. So I taught them about opportunities, about stepping out of the comfort zone. What would I miss if I didn't actually pitch my idea to the managing director over coffee? I would have missed $400,000 fund. But I said, you know what? I'm just gonna give it a go. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, at least he knows about my research. And here we are in phase 2. We already finished the 1 year of phase 2, and we're now scaling up production in our lab so that we can test them in the engines, inshallah, next year here in Oman. So we have the first Omani-made biodiesel in Oman, and we're very proud of that. So now we have biodiesel. Of course, it's very small scale. We're not even close to industrial. We have some challenges regarding cost that we're trying to tackle. So we have solar, hydropower, biomass, all of these things we need to train our students to be able to maintain, engineer, program, all of these. Hyperloop, I only knew yesterday that it was still, the idea started in 2013. Hyperloop are plane speed transportation systems on ground, in a nutshell. So these are trains that can travel 600 miles per hour. It started as an idea in 2013. There's already a lot of government contracts and bids that have been signed for the first companies that will develop hyperloops. This is going to completely transform transportation sector in the world. Is our ministry aware of it? Is there any plans for it? Are we training our students for this kind of technology? I'm not sure. Internet of Things, okay, this concept is still new to me, but what I understand is that it's just using lots of devices that are connected to minimize human or to get rid of human or human machine interaction, and basically just allow machine interaction or device interaction, and speeds up and improves a lot of the logistics. Just allow me to have a bit of a sip. I got excited here when I talk about education. I can go in blue in the face. And then we have, which I think is fantastic, the science and technology of VR, AR, and MR. What's this? That's virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. This can be used in so many ways. We can use it a lot to enhance education. Again, this is part of the concept of edutainment, using entertainment and education. When a student sees a DNA replicating, he will know how to answer the questions in the exam, right? But if you say that, and then this opens up, and then comes an enzyme, and that's really outdated. And I was very keen on introducing virtual technology and virtual reality in my classrooms. And I actually spoke about it in a board meeting once, and they said, well, okay, then we're going to assign you as a coordinator of the course, and then you can do it. And I said, thank you. Spoke to the HOD, highly supported it. She highly supportive. I'm very blessed to have an amazing leader, an amazing HOD, where she supports crazy ideas, right? And she said, okay, we have a problem of funding because obviously that's not part of our funds. And I said, I'll take care of that as well, right? Went to speak to Dr. Dhafar al-Shanfari, and I really want to thank him and tell him that his sponsorship, the company's sponsorship for the VR glasses in SQU is doing wonders. Hundreds of students are enjoying their biology classrooms now because we bought these VR glasses from Inotech, the Omani company. You see how many benefits? Inotech benefited because it's an Omani company and I went through them. Sultan Qaboos University benefited because now we're upgrading the educational system, and the students benefited because now they're enjoying their education a lot. I benefited because now I'm seeing my classroom transform into a fun place. Simple idea. All you had to do is buy glasses. Why not? If I had stopped at the idea that we have no funds, I would have used that stone to hurt me. But I use that stone plus others to build a wall, to get on the top, to get things done. And that's what we need to teach our students. We need to say that, you know what, don't stop. Keep on trying. When you have a goal, go for it 150%, right? And I'm so glad it was by the way, it was so simple. It was very, very easy. Spoke to an organization, said, you know what, this is what we want for your education. It's part of your agenda. You have to be smart about it. You have to look at the company's interest. So I went to PDO for renewable energy because I know they are interested in renewable energy. I went to the other investment company, it's a very long name, okay, because I know they fund education through Rolls-Royce Fund for schools. So I said, you know what, this is going to be an extension for your interest anyway. You can say now that you fund schools and universities. So it's a win-win, right? And it was a small check, but it made a huge difference. So that's why we need to keep on trying to upgrade our educational systems, because it's easier than we think. We just need to be brave about it and courageous, and just take the first step. So the role of higher education is to move faster, to work harder, to collaborate, and to really believe that we can make a difference. Now, who led the digital I love this. I got this on WhatsApp. Who led the digital transformation of your company? I think everybody knows the answer. Everybody within 24 hours was shoved on Zoom meetings and Google Meet, and everything was started doing online. People started working from home. The efficiency and productivity of a lot of organizations have been reported to increase. A lot of the females, and maybe especially, have been happy to be able to balance now. We have an issue of work-life balance, right? So if you have an open system like this, I work until nighttime because now I have a flexible system. So I work a couple of hours in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit at night. It's more flexible as long as you get the job done and the KPIs are achieved. So yeah, COVID-19, as much as you've been a pain to the world, thank you for transforming technology in organizations, changing the way we think. I don't think there's going back, and I don't think we should aim for going back. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to try to go back to the system before. Because what COVID-19 did in 2 months, the world could not do in 10 years, the amount of change. So thank you for the push, and there's no going back. We just need to see how we're gonna move forward. Personally, I decided to moving forward in education to have mixed teaching. So do a little bit of online, a little bit of direct engagement for so many reasons. So have a kind of a mixed teaching system for the future. The most important slide, and I think this is towards the end now, so the most important slide of the whole talk really, which sums up everything we've said so far. The role of higher education, and I would take it a step back and say even schools, right? Is that we want to create future-facing students. We want to create students who change the world. We want to create students who make a difference in the world and who will really solve problems in their surrounding. In order to do that, we need 2 sets of skills: soft skills and technical skills. And both of them are very important. Some people are better with soft skills, less so in technical. Some people are amazing in technical skills, and they're horrible in soft skills. You really need to strike a balance between the two. And there's so many skills out there, but according to my reading of different reports, whether it's World Economic Forum or others, I summed it up to 10 each, just because I had to list a specific number, and I thought 10 would be a good number. So if we look at the soft skills, complex problem solving was there on the list since 2015, World Economic Forum list of skills. It was there on 2020, it's there on 2030, and it's there on 2040. It just gets up the rank. So complex problem solving is needed always, all the time, for all the generations. We need to teach our students how to solve problems. And that's what we're trying to do in our classrooms. When they face problems, we guide them, we don't solve it for them. And when I tell them, I say, I'm not being mean. Trust me, I can actually answer you and help you and help solve your problem, but I'm not helping you by solving your problem. I'm not helping you by solving your problem. So I guide them on the steps they need to do in order to solve their problem. That's education. We need to be aware of that. Because if we solve their problems for them, we're creating dependent students who will be dependent employees, who will be dependent managers and leaders, right? So it starts at the educational level. Collaboration is key. Push them out of their comfort zone. A lot of the students don't want to work with others. We force them through fun projects. I have something that I introduced called Bio's Got Talent. You know, like America's Got Talent? So I created something called Bio's Got Talent, and the kids love it. The students love it. So we have 3 judges, and I get them into teams, and I ask them to do any project they like regarding science, but they have to collaborate and solve a problem. And I give them 3 months to do it, and then they pitch it at the end. I sit at the back of my class with a cup of coffee, with 2 other judges, and we sit there and looking at the amazing stuff that they come up with. They're great. They just need encouragement and guidance. Our students are great. They just need encouragement and guidance. Trust me. Critical thinking is very important. I found that the students really struggle with critical thinking, and we're trying to develop questions in the exams that help them think in the right way. We have something called worksheets. And in worksheets, we encourage them to work in pairs. So they're actually forced to work in pairs. Why? Because they discuss things with each other, and we use their critical thinking in order to address challenges. Once I gave them a question at an exam, there was a WhatsApp video going around of somebody saying, look at this, you know, this rice. This is, we have here a conspiracy theory. If you use this rice that has, salt, they were talking about the harmful effect of salt and rock salt, like iodide salt and non-iodide salt. And they experiment, they put the rice in water, they took the rice water and added salt to it, and it turned black. And they said, you see, this rice is spoiled. This is, they turned it into a conspiracy theory that somebody's trying to harm us by sending us spoiled rice. And I gave this question, I played the video in the exam, and I told the students, explain scientifically why this video does not make sense. Explain scientifically why the rice is not spoiled. Who would think that you can use biology to knock down a viral video going up on WhatsApp? And this is what we're suffering from. Don't we get like hundreds of nonsense video clips every day in our phones and in social media? It's annoying, right? So we need to teach our students how to smash these kind of, conspiracy theories or these kind of videos and saying, you know what? Thank you, grandma, for sending this. Thank you, uncle, for sending this. But let me explain something to you. When iodine interacts with carbohydrates, which is the rice water, it turns black because of the interaction of iodine and the salt with the rice water. Your rice is perfectly fine. Go make your biryani. Right? So this is how we teach, and we tie science education with real life. And we need to do this every day, in every step, in every lecture, in every educational institution to make a difference. That's critical thinking. Communication is very important. Empathy is very important. To be lean and agile is extremely important in the 21st century. The technologies are developing really fast. Things are changing in the speed of light. We need to be able to serve evolving needs. There's constant evolving needs. If you don't be able to serve the evolving needs, you are outdated. You are not needed. Then don't go complaining that you can't get a job because you're outdated. You need to be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. To be lean and agile is to be alive. Simple. Active learning is very important. Take responsibility for your education. Inspiring and motivating others is extremely important. Never underestimate it. You can transform lives and change things around you by inspiring and motivating your team. A team, I would rather work with a team which has less resources and more drive, an inspired team, than work with a team that has a lot of resources and no motivation. Very easy decision for me. Give me a bunch of kids who have no resources, no money, nothing. They just have a passion. They're just like, we want to make a difference. Tell us, Doctora, what to do. I embrace them straight away. But I don't want a team that has a lot of resources and they don't have the passion and drive to make a difference. So motivation and inspiration can do huge, huge, huge things. And I've seen this already through the volunteers I work with. Innovation and creativity is very important. Very, very important. Emotional intelligence, again, we spoke about it a lot. Technical skills needed. I'm not going to go through this a lot because we already spoke about it in the previous slides. Artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing. They call it ABC. ABC, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing. There is Code Academy, which again is a Omani company led by Dr. Ali Shidani. I'm trying to remember Dr. Mohammed Al-Wardi, Mohammed Al-Badawi. Can't remember the rest of the team. I apologize. But Code Academy teach these things. I'm very happy with their workshops that they're doing for the students at school level, university level, where they teach ABC, yeah, and other kinds of programming. 3D printing, robotics programming, biotechnology, IT solutions, monitoring, and system analysis. So this is what we really need to focus on: soft skills and technical skills. We need our students to think, where are you going to be 5 years from now? In the first day of my teaching, I actually asked the students, I want you to imagine where and think about where you want to be in 10 years. And I asked them not to answer me on the same day. To go home, take a piece of paper and think about it. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Some of them don't go beyond their feet. Their dream in life is to graduate and get a job. Wallah, this is our problem. We educated, this is our problem. If we don't manage to inspire our students and make them aim for huge things, we will not be able to create the future we need and we want for our children. These people we are teaching are going to be the people of the future, and they're going to be the ones who are going to deal with our kids. So we are the ones who are going to create the future. Educators need to understand the importance of their job. So we need to ask our students and make them think, where do they want to be 10 years from now? There's a very simple tool called the Ikigai, which is a Japanese concept of happiness, which I used. It took me quite a bit of time to fill all the gaps. But really, at the end, it takes you to the core. And this is different from one person to another because everybody has a different set of skills, passion, you know? So it asks you, what do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? What do you do just for fun and relaxation? What are you good at? And then you start filling all of these things, right? And it takes you to the core. And that's when I went, aha, now I know what I want to do. This is perfect for me because this is a set of skills I have. This is the world's need. I can give the world this through my skills by doing so and so. So these are the kind of tools that we need to teach our students. And the earlier we do it, the better. I wish I discovered these things much earlier. These things were all very recent to me, just a few years ago. And it's because I'm constantly thinking where I want to go. What do I want to do? What's the impact that I want to have? Some people don't even think of impact. They just want to live, خلاص, alhamdulillah, عندي ما يؤكل وأهلي وطيبة وخلاص. Yeah? No, we need to inspire. We need to aspire to leave huge impact in our local community and in the world. Why not the world? Why can't we make a difference in the world? Of course we can. I strongly believe that each one of us can make a difference in the world. But we need to start from our house, our neighborhood, our community and society, and then we grow. But we need to start now. Stepping out of the comfort zone is step one. I remember when I was invited to Harvard Crossroad Conference, and I think Sheikh Sultan Al-Harthi is here among the attendees. Thanks for the opportunity for hooking me up. I was the first Omani speaker in Harvard Crossroad Conference. When I got the invitation, I almost thought it was a wrong call. I was like, yeah, but this is Lamya on the phone. You want me to speak to Harvard graduates? Like, I couldn't believe it, right? But because of other people's trust in me, I thought, you know what, if they think I can do it, then they must have seen something in me that I did not see in myself. And this was in 2016. I was terrified. Looking at the profile of people I was supposed to speak with, and two, on the stage on that conference, they were all Harvard graduates, Harvard alumni. We're talking about CEO of huge companies, Nobel Prize winners, presidents of countries and Lamya shoved accidentally between them. So when I first got the invitation, I thought, you know what, this is crazy, but I'm going to say yes. And I'm so glad I did. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I was worried sick in the morning of the conference. I literally got sick in the morning because I was so scared, but I thought, you know what, I am not going to lose this opportunity because I know I'm going to meet and greet a lot of people and a lot of doors are going to be open for me after this. So I'm going to get that stage and I'm going to rock it. Yeah. I think I was the youngest speaker. It went really well, beyond my expectations. I got so many business cards, so many opportunities, so many beautiful emails. I got a beautiful letter of thanks from the president of Harvard Business School. I'm very proud of that day, because if I did not say yes, I would have lost that opportunity for sure. And that opened a lot of doors. And I share the story with my students and I say, you know what? I used to sit in Sultan Qaboos University. I graduated from SKU, right? And as a student sitting in SKU, I tell them, I ask them, I say, do you think I ever thought that I would address Harvard graduates? Never. I never dreamed of it. Do you think I ever imagined that I'm going to be a young global leader selected by the World Economic Forum, or be part of the World Academy of Science, or be a L'Oreal UNESCO award-winning scientist? As a student in Sultan Qaboos University, I never imagined it for a second. But why I'm sharing that with my students is because I want to inspire them. I want all the hundreds of students sitting in my classroom to go, you know what? If Dr. Lamya can do it, so can we. She's a graduate of Sultan Qaboos University and she's gone global. Why can't we? This is what we need to inspire them. And trust me, it makes a huge difference. Encourage them to make them feel comfortable stepping out of their comfort zone, because there's a beautiful world out there. Look at that fish. It stayed in that small tank. It would have stayed only with those few goldfish. But it made the jump. It stepped out of its comfort zone and it discovered a whole new horizon. So that's what we want to do with our students in order to make them ready for the future. Thank you so much. I spent so much time talking and I really look forward to hearing it from all of you. Thank you so much.
That was terrific. Thank you very much, Dr. Lamya.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Riham, can I hand over to you, please?
Thank you very much. We will start by taking the questions. We will start by Jelena Lager. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. It was really very insightful and engaging. My question to you was, you've obviously talked about many different ways of engaging students and achieving certain educational outcomes. And I was wondering what your thoughts are on achieving those same educational outcomes in a remote learning setting.
Very good question. Is it Atika? Did I get the name right? So I can't see all the participants. I think we have 93 participants, and I didn't manage to see your beautiful face, but you have a beautiful voice. Thanks for the question, Atika.
It's Yelena, sorry.
Oh, Yelena, sorry. Thank you, Yelena. Okay, very good question. And to be honest, it was very challenging for us when we had to suddenly move from traditional classroom teaching to this emergency distance learning. We had to change the assessments. We had to change the assessments in order to quickly address the pressing need of assessing the students half remotely and half being in class. So the first half was already in class, and we managed to get a few assessments done. But when we moved to remote learning, we tried to assess them based on things like open book quizzes, open book exams, worksheets where we encourage them to actually work in groups, reports where we actually encourage them to work in pairs. So basically we said, you know what? You have open access. You have the internet, you have your books, you have your notes, you have Google, and you have Siri, and you are allowed to use all of it for your assessments. They're not used to that, right? But I said, you know what? I'm very happy. You know why? Because that is exactly life. We live in a world with an access of information. Now, the smartness here is to be able to get the right information, process the right information, and come with the right conclusion. So it actually turned out really well, because now we had to, but it's just that we had to do it in a very short speed of time. We sensed the frustration. We sensed the frustration of the students because they were not used to it, and it came so sudden on them. And that's why it was our role to constantly reassure them. We said, we understand your frustration, you're not used to it, but this is why you need to do it. This is why we're doing it for you. This is why we're using this method, because that is life. We don't have a process. We don't have a problem with information availability. You can get the information at a blink of an eye. What makes a good student better than another student or an average student or a less talented student? It's the ability to find the right information, process the information, present it, and come up with conclusions. So we started making assessments based on those skills. They didn't find it easy at all, but we did a mix. So we did a few assessments with easy stuff where you have reading quizzes. So they just make sure that, that was done to make sure that they read their assigned pages. So everybody got full marks, like literally everybody got 5 out of 5. And we were fine with that. And they're like, yay, we're all getting A's this semester. And I said, guys, hold your horses. The final exam is coming. It's going to be critical thinking. And this is the type of questions that are going to be there. We were very transparent. We said you can have 50 MCQs, 20 true and false. It's based on understanding. Make sure that you don't come unprepared just because it's an open book. The book will not help you at all if you're not studied, prepared, and you understand the material. The average of the final was very low. The average of the final was very low. And we were first worried that the marks would be inflated because everybody would cheat. But we put the questions, and this takes a lot of time. We put the questions in such a way that is all critical thinking. It's not like how many nucleotides are there in the DNA? That's easy, you can just Google that. But the questions we used was all thinking. And we also shuffled the questions. So basically you can't cheat from each other. So then we did a system where all the questions are shuffled and the options within each question is also shuffled. So there was no time for them to cheat. And for those of you who were extremely genius and found other ways of cheating, please invest that genius action in something more useful. They deserve the mark for being genius on that part, okay, and being outsmarting their professors. So yeah, I mean, there's a way of doing it. It's just being very structured on the type of questions that you're going to use.
Can I just elaborate for a second? Thank you for that. And what about teaching things like you were mentioning earlier about emotional intelligence and critical thinking in a remote setting where you don't have that, let's say, physical face-to-face interaction available?
Yeah, it again comes down, there's a lot of things that you miss by not having the face-to-face interaction. If you ask me, Yelena, to be honest, I don't like it. I miss my students, I miss my classrooms. There's a whole new dynamics being in the classroom. And that's why going forward, I opt for a mixed one. I opt for a mixed educational system. But developing critical thinking in AI can be done remotely through the type of assessments and assignments you give them. It can be done.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you, Yelena.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lamya, we will just take more questions and we will give you the chance to answer them. We'll take the next question from Professor Yusra. Professor Yusra, and then Dr. Talal. Professor Yusra, please.
Thank you, Riham. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Lamya. Fantastic presentation as usual. Very, very engaging. And I must say, I wish I was one of your students. I'm very envious of your students because they must have an excellent time with you as their lecturer. I would agree with everything you've said there, Doctora, all the comments you make. And I probably have comments and questions on every point you made, but I'm going to be try and be disciplined and pose two questions and maybe food for thought. The first, there's been a lot of focus around students' ability to adapt to this new way of learning, blah, blah. There's a lot of focus on the students, but I'm just a bit concerned that we seem to have forgotten the importance of understanding the educators' ability to adapt. Let's be honest, we have a lot of educators, teachers, primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, university lecturers, professors, etc., who've been in the business a long time, what we could possibly call old school. And it's actually very difficult for them to adapt to this new way of teaching and learning. And therefore, what are we doing to address that challenge for them? Because this, putting all your slides on Blackboard or Moodle, whatever, isn't online learning. It isn't distance learning. And changing your question to so that it's a takeaway exam does not address the question, the issue we have on hand. That's my first kind of point. I think it's just a bit of a balance between what we're expecting students to achieve and what we're actually allowing our lecturers to achieve. The second point, as you know, I'm very passionate about research as well as education. And whilst I agree with everything you've said and the need to reform and the need to change, I think one of the issues we have and why we haven't been able to reform is we don't actually know what we want to reform to. Where do we want to go? What do we want our education system to look like? We've got the Finnish, the experience they have in Finland. We've got what they did in Singapore. We've got what they did in the UK, in the US, and in lots of parts of the world. However, what is right for our setting, for our context? And we will only be able to understand that if we do research that is context specific to our world, to the Arab world, to the Arab way of thinking, to possibly even the Romani way of thinking and our cultural differences. So in your view, how can we use research to help us achieve this reform that we've all been talking about for so long? Yes, COVID has kindly given us a push and asked us to get our act together, but actually this may well be very short-lived unless we grasp it and do something with it. So I'd really welcome your thoughts on those, and thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Professor Yusra. Such an honor. When I was asked to give this talk and I picked the topic, I said, Lamya, that's very brave of you to speak about this topic when Professor Yusra is going to be amongst the audience.
Don't say that.
I almost regret giving the talk with your comments are amazing. Your questions are super. And you're absolutely right, Professor Yusra. We also sense the same thing. How could we, going back to the first question, how could we equip our educators for the future of our students? That's true. It's not only the students. That's why we said that it's the role of the students, the educators, the government, and the parents. It's a collective effort. It's a collaborative effort. And to be honest, I focused mainly on a vision, or more like I just wanted to describe what we would like to see of our graduates in the future, in the coming years. I wanted to describe the ideal graduate, the one that has the ability to learn and relearn and unlearn and has these technical skills and life skills. But then, of course, this topic is huge. And then you can talk about different things like whose role is it? What's the role of each one? What's the best way? Where do we start? When do we start? This is not an easy question to answer. And if it was, we would have had a solution by now. I think this is an issue not only in Iran, this is an issue all over the world. And people are exploring different ways of education. I had lunch one with Professor, I have his business card right here. Let me get his name right, of Harvard. Professor Eric Mazur, right? He's the professor of physics and applied physics in Harvard University. Had a beautiful lunch with him, and we were talking about education. We were talking about the same questions you posed. Whose responsibility is it? And to be honest, it's a complicated, or maybe not even an unavailable answer. But what they do in Harvard is flipped classroom, for example. And of course, the teachers, the educators have to be trained for this. In COVID-19, we were not ready. We were taken by surprise. The educators were taken by surprise. A lot of them failed. I think I might have failed in a lot of components. I'd like to believe that I partially did a good job, but I'm sure I'm not even close to being, the good online teaching at all, because it wasn't interactive enough. But a lot of educators just panicked because it was so new. We have some people who still use transparencies. They're not even signed up on Moodle. They had to sign up on a system that they'd never used before. Maybe we had a bit of a head start because we were already on Moodle and we had the technology, but some educators didn't even know the technology. So yes, you're absolutely right. Some of the students had to suffer because the educators themselves were not prepared for online teaching, distance learning, and all of these kind of skills. And that's why we need to train and retrain our educators when we teach them in the universities, when we teach Kulliyat al-Tarbiyah, when we graduate teachers, we have to train them on using all of these things, VR, exactly. AR, AI, in fourth industrial revolution. So we need to teach the way we teach our educators, train the trainer concept. And that's going to take some time. That is going to take some time. And that's why we need to discuss it and talk about it now. I'm not sure if I answered your question. Maybe I didn't, because I actually don't even know the clear-cut answer to that question.
No, I don't think there's a simple answer, but it's just throwing it out there to say that, look, there's a bigger and wider, the students will lap this up. They will love it. They're citizens of this digital age, but we're the immigrants. We're the ones coming into this new world, and we have to learn, and we have to just be cognizant of the fact that not everybody, I actually am more worried about school teachers, particularly in some of the government schools where this is just not on the radar, so I think we have to just as a bit of an awareness for us all.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much for highlighting the point.
Thank you.
Going back to the second point is which education system should we use? which again is a pressing question, because you're absolutely right. It has to be context driven. It has to be based on the local needs. I think the best thing is to maybe, and this is just me throwing out my ideas, is to go back to the national vision. Like if we go back to Oman Vision 2040, if we go back to Tanfeed, if we go back to, you know, what is the vision of the country? What does the country want from the citizens? Where do we want to be in the future? And then once that's high, and it's already highlighted, we already have these things highlighted in Oman 2040. We have 5 clear sectors that we want to focus on. Are we then training our students to fulfill the jobs that need to push these 5 sectors forward? That would be context. I mean, there's a set, I would imagine there's a set of skills that everybody needs to survive the world, right? When we talk about soft skills and some technical skills, but then we need to be more specific on the vision that we want in Oman. And I'm really pleased, subhanAllah, how things worked out. And that's from the Hikmat Mawlana, Allah yarhamah, is that who is leading the Oman 2040 vision, Sultan Haytham, is now the Sultan of Oman. So we are very optimistic that that would push things forward in the right direction, hopefully, in the very end. And he emphasized also the importance of R&D and research. We can't live without research and development in all the sectors. Every institution should have a small department of R&D. I'm very happy we have Ijad platform now. Ijad platform is there, established to hook up or connect academics and researchers with industry that are facing challenges. And that's one of the things that we had hooked up through Ijad, our project. So the industry would pause a challenge. It will be sent to all academics and our researchers, and then they come up with solutions, and that's the way forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctora.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Lamya, Professor Yusra. Dr. Lamya, if you don't mind, we'll take more questions, like a set of questions, and then we'll give you a chance to answer, if you don't mind.
My pleasure.
Okay?
My pleasure.
Yes, sure. Next question is from Dr. Talal.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Lamya, and thank you, Majlis Al Khonji. And thank you, Riham, and to Mr. Mike Hansen for the introduction. So my question is, Dr. Lamya, in one of the great slides that you mentioned, the importance of the soft skills. I want to zoom in about how's the impact of art in preparing the future education skills, especially when we come to the current general understanding. There is always, when we see an art, it's always linked to the luxury of education. So usually people would like, for example, if they have an extra allege of time, they will dedicate it to some of the art educations for the young, or also for the universities. And also what I see usually, even in some countries like in Europe or North American, when the government goes through austerity measures on the budget, usually they start attacking art and social science research grants by cutting them left and right, and leaving the science research grants to be survive. In Oman, based on your experience in the education sectors, and you are a scientist as well, and how do you see the value of art on preparing the soft skills for the coming generation? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Talal. Dr. Lamya will just take another question or comment, and we'll come to the answers. Mr. Simon Karam.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Let me comment, and maybe we discover during my comment some questions. And let me comment as a student, because I'm not an educator, and as a father, because I've got children who were educated. You talked about, very important three things. You talked about what graduates need for the 21st century. Definitely not a paper, not the degree. And to add on that, unfortunately, we have some citizens, Omani citizens, who are doctors. If you don't call them doctor, they get angry with you. They think it's an insult. In that respect, I don't want to be modest, but I want to give you this example. I graduated from Paris. And I went 10 years after my graduation to get my paper. I didn't need it. You know, you don't need it actually. Okay, and I've discovered as a student now, you made me discover that my education was not complete at all, because all what I did is learn. I have not learned how to unlearn, and I'm now trying to relearn a little bit, you know, like Zoom. Zoom, for example, I know how to handle it now. I can call for a meeting. And what you said they need, our students need for the second phase, they need new qualities, new 10 qualities. You spoke about empathy, emotional intelligence, patience, self. And here comes a first question from me, if I may. If we produce all these perfect citizens, who will deal with the bad ones? Who will deal with the extremists ultimately? You see, my children were brought up, all of them in Oman, in a very, very relaxed and favorable. Some of them went to MIT, of course, but some of them went to Beirut. And when they went into AUB University, they immediately clashed with the people who did not have that soft skills. And that put them backwards. You know, they were scared, afraid. Actually, some of them left university. I've got one son who left university because of that. And then he went to MIT as an undergraduate, and he did extremely well, actually. So the question is, who will deal with the bad ones? Secondly, I know what you mean, but I'm trying to be clever here, Dr. Lamya. You said
Very nice comment.
You have to leave the theoretical sciences and go more for practical sciences. Well,
not leave,
not leave, you know, yeah, push. Well, what you said, I've got it here, actually. Not leave.
بالدليل بالحجة والبرهان
anyway, no, but your last table answers that. You know, you talked about the technical skills, yes, and the soft skills. So to continue what you said, you know, you said, what about education in Oman? And you said it must be disrupted. You know, we need a disruption. Absolutely, I can't agree more. In that respect, I want also to give you an example. We had an educator here who was not less passionate than you for education, nor less passionate than Professor Yusra. She was the superintendent for ABA, Arab lady, Canadian nationality, Muna Nashman Smith. And Muna talked about 10 years about disruption. She said, if I was, you say I was or I were, I don't know. My education is French, no problem. If I were the Minister of Education, I'll stop education for 6 months. Send all the students home. The big ones, they do social work. You talked about social work. The young ones, we get them occupied in other things. And I take, she said, the body of teachers. You were talking about teaching 6 months, intensive courses and exams. And those who fail the exams will be kicked out. Then we can see, because one of the questions that came here in the screen, what do we do? How we can start to achieve the goals of education? So we definitely need a disruption. And you explained very, very well the role of higher education, what it should give. You know, the soft skills and the technical skills. I want to add 1 or 2 more jobs of the future. One is epidemiology. You know, the way medicine and doctors failed to deal with COVID, it's absolutely unbelievable. And use big data to deal with the next wave. That's a new science, epidemiology. And I'll tell you about another one, if I may. Agriculture, because there are things that will never change, whether there is a 4th industrial or 6th industrial. A man or a woman is in this world to be in good health, and that's our Vision 2040, to be educated, to be able to live in peace, decent work, and also look at art, look at music, and all these. You see, our country has developed, but it has not been cascaded down, encrusted in the students. So I won't say any more. And thank you very much. This is extremely good. And it's good that you gave a chance to a student to answer, not only to educators. Thank you, Doctor.
تواضع منك, Simon. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you so much. Rihan, may I answer the questions before we move to the next ones? Because otherwise I'll lose the
Yeah, sure.
the flow. Okay. دكتور طلال بعد إذنك, I'm going to start with Simon's and then go back to yours. Inshallah. Simon, thank you very much.
We're good friends, no problem. With Dr. Talal.
Thank you very much, Simon. Fantastic. Thank you very much for your comments, and it's very humble of you to say that you're a student. And congratulations to your children who graduated from top elite universities. Very interesting about the reverse. It's almost like a reverse culture shock, you know, when you go to well-reputed universities and then you go elsewhere, and then you get the students or your system gets shocked from the behavior. And your question was, how do we deal? Who will deal with? And I'm thinking maybe the answer is to change the question from who will deal with to how we will deal with the other type of people, right? Because I think everybody needs, that's part of being resilient. That's part of emotional intelligence. That's part of social intelligence as well. So I'm going to change the question from who to how. How can we deal with it? Is by building resilience, by developing social and emotional intelligence skills. It's part of the journey. It's part of life. We're not all the same. We have highly educated people, less educated people. We have nice people. We have bad people. What we try to do is to reduce the bad, increase the good, and then learn how to deal with the other examples. I think that's the only thing that I can say regarding your question. Regarding the example of 6 months leaving school and then taking them to training and social work, I think that's absolutely amazing. And some countries actually, I think it's Germany, they actually stop the education, or part of their education really is to stop the education and go on real life training for 6 months. So if your interest is in carpentry, for example, or engineering or whatever, then you actually go in the field, you work in an industry while you're still at school, and university level, and then you come back to your educational system. So what you actually suggested is actually being done in some of the countries, and that also ties me back to Professor Yusra's question of what is the best educational system. You see very nice examples of different ways of education in different countries, and maybe assessing all of these and doing the research and assessing all of these models, then we can set up a model that best fits our culture and our community in Oman. So it's absolutely a great idea, and we're trying to encourage that in Sultan Qaboos University, and we've been trying to fight for it, is to have a training year or even half a semester or 1 semester where the students actually go out, get hands-on experience, and then come back to continue their education.
But you want to train the trainer, Professor, Doctor.
Yes.
It's the trainer we were suggesting more than the students, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway,
I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, the trainers need to be trained for that in order to be able to apply it for the students. We don't have that. We don't have that in our system. So it comes from the top of Ras al-Haram, from the top of the pyramid. A decision has to come that, you know what, let's change our degree plans to incorporate such and such. The educators are trained on how to do it. The strategic, the logistics are set between the education institutions and industry, or the working place, in order to create these platforms, and then the students are enrolled. That is definitely not the students' job. This is the job of the legislative sector and the educational sector. Going back to Dr. Talal, I hope that answered your question, Simon. Thank you very much. Dr. Talal, thank you. Dr. Talal, integration of art, importance of art, no doubt whatsoever. Art is proven to encourage and enhance creativity, which is one of the very important skills that we need, that everybody needs. The thing is, we need to change the way we see it. And I think the solution lies in changing the way we see art. If we don't see it as a separate science, we are solving half the problem. If we see art integrated with other sciences, which it can be done, then it won't be a problem anymore. Why? If we integrate art and science, and then you have a budget cut in a project that integrates science and art, then your art is not affected, because your art is integrated in science. Your art is integrated in architecture. Your art is integrated in the food supply. You have 3D printing that is clearly art, right? So I think the solution is not to see art as just drawing or paintings or You know what I mean? We can have, it can, you know what? I actually read the book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. And in this book, he mentioned how crime rates have reduced in the American metro station. I think it was American or UK, I can't remember, just by having graffiti, changing the graffiti. So they had the metros and they had this graffiti that gave the impression of the people around there of crime. So there was a sense of harshness and crime and ghetto-like of atmosphere because of the art displayed there. Once they changed the art, the crime rate decreased. So this is a very beautiful example of how art can actually be used to solve problems. It can be actually used to enhance science. I get my students to integrate art. Most of the projects of my students are actually integrating art into science. We use art to draw bacteria on petri dishes. We use art to have a banner of fluorescent bacteria, which was actually done in one of the cities in Paris. Not Paris, in France, somewhere in France. They had a city which had banners made up of glowing bacteria, right? So art can be integrated anywhere. Art is the source of creativity. So I think the solution is by not seeing art as only art and not seeing science as only science. We need to start thinking in a multidisciplinary way. We need to start thinking of themes. When you solve a problem in life, do you just use one science? If there's an explosion in a pipeline of petroleum, خلينا نقول احنا في عمان we use a lot of petrol, right? If we have an explosion in the pipeline of the petroleum, do you only need an engineer to solve the problem? You need a risk assessment. You need a statistician. You need a health and safety guy. You need an engineer. You need a plumber. You need
environmentalist.
You need to use engineering. There's so many people who are actually going to solve that one problem. Not one person can solve that problem. And that's a typical example of everything we do in life. Everything we do in life. So it's the perception of how we see things. And I think once we start seeing things as multidisciplinary and themed science, which is being done in Finland, and unfortunately we don't have the video for that, right? That's when that kind of issue starts dissolving. That's in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lamya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Talat.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yeah. Mr. Simon, please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Just I won't be long. I think one of the most critical thing that is a big challenge for India Arab world, except Lebanon, where it's messy, is the critical thinking. If we are realistic and want to be transparent, we all know that there are certain areas that are taboo. We cannot criticize. You cannot criticize. I don't want to elaborate further, and that restricts the child from his childhood to ask certain questions that cannot be answered, or they're forbidden to be answered. The other extreme is Lebanon, of course, where it is chaos. You criticize everything, but out of chaos comes a system. Mike, I saw you smile. Out of chaos, there's always a system that comes out. But let's admit that the critical thinking of our students, and you said it, not me, and their confinement in their own box and comfort zone is a huge problem. Not only for we face this with the program, CEO programs. Even the CEOs that went into the program, their professors complained about the same thing. So that's an area, critical area, where we have to see how we can improve on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. No, I mean, I couldn't agree more, Simon. I'm not sure if I can add anything to. I totally agree with what you said, and I think it's a journey, to be honest. To develop critical thinking skills starts from a very young age. It should start at home. I truly believe it should start at home. The kids should feel free to be able to express their ideas in a respectful manner, with the boundaries, respect, and there's a way of criticizing. There's a difference between attacking and criticizing. في فرق بين النقد والهجوم. And that's what I teach my students. Is again, this is emotional intelligence. This is social intelligence. There's a skill of how to say things. Two people can ask for the same thing. One might get it, the other might not, just by the way they say things. And that's a very important skill. Persuasion, negotiation is one of the important skills of 2040. And I'm not surprised. We need to teach our students politics. That's politics.
Thank you, Dr. Lamya. Dr. Lamya will just take 3 questions from the comments, please. The first question, don't you think that the pace of change in the world is so fast that there is almost no time for learn and relearn? So jobs lost will be much higher.
Yes, excellent. That's wallah, and when I learned about that need, I almost got a panic attack, because I thought, oh my God, there's so much that you need to learn and so much effort put in what you already learned that you need to unlearn, and then need to learn more stuff. But it really can cause anxiety. You can't learn everything. And that's why it's very important to understand your purpose. There, as I said, there are some basic things that everybody needs, but then the specifics all depend on what you want to do and where you want to be in your future. So if there's a lot of skills, for example, that I look into and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm really bad at this. But then I say, actually, do I need it? Do I need it for my future and for my goal? I don't really need it. So I'm just going to put this on park right now and focus on the skills that I really need to work on. Otherwise, you're just going to go crazy because there's so much to learn. And yes, you are absolutely right. Change is very fast. And that's why the most important skill is, or one of the most important skills, is to be lean and agile.
Thank you.
To be lean and agile and to be resilient, because yes, it's changing very fast. And even if you look at it, I mean, this is one of the reports I read about the future skills, right? I'm probably going to pick up another report that's going to give me another set of jobs, because this is all predictions of the future. اجتهادات يعني المؤسسات, صح? So if I pick up another report, there might be another list of jobs, and you're probably thinking, oh my God, sometimes you even think, what should I advise my kids? What should I ask them to go for? But then you show them everything, you share everything, and then you see where their passion is, right? But the most important thing is that they be ready and prepared for change, to be lean and agile, to be not to break in front of the rapid needs for change. Yani resilience. Why do a lot of people, you know, why is the rate of suicide and depression higher in the recent future? People are confused. Change is so fast. People don't know what to do with their future. If you lose your sense of worth and you don't feel like you're an important person in the world, you get into depression because you're thinking, right? And that's why it's very important to build resilience. You have to have self-confidence and you have to have resilience and be able to say, you know what, I know this is not easy. There's so much change happening in the world. I need to stay focused. What do I need? As long as I'm lean and agile, then it's less stressful for yourself. But I must agree, it's not easy. Things are changing very, very, very fast. And we can't run away from it. It's a fact. We just need to be lean and agile and be resilient.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lamya. The second question, how can we promote innovation and creativity in science topics with the low financial resources? So this is the question. And the last question, before we from other questions, where do we need to start to better catch up, like preschool or elementary school, as the universities might not be at that level to start? So here two questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, so back to the first question, how can we promote innovation with in research and development with limited resources? I must say that most of the budgets that I've got from different resources is not being touched or tapped yet. That's because there's so many ways to save. There's so many ways to do research and science without the need for a lot of money. Okay, and the key for me was collaboration. Your network, your collaboration can save you a lot of not only money, but also time. I cannot take the credit for all the publications that I have in research and science without thanking my research team, without thanking the people who I collaborated with in London, people I collaborated with in Poland, in South Africa, right, and doing research. So there are ways. If you try to do it all yourself, it's going to be expensive and it's going to take a lot of your time and it's going to drain you. We are still not well ahead and established in research and development where you have a full-fledged lab and you have a huge research team and you have all the time in the world to do your research. You know how challenging it is to do research now? We have a huge teaching load. We have admin responsibilities. we are leading research teams, we are teaching, and we are advising, right? And we still need to do R&D. I could have said, you know what, this is too much, I'm not gonna do R&D. But I thought, you know what, how can I do this? A bit of money from here, a lot of collaboration from there, and we did it. So the key really, in very short, is collaboration. And you need creativity in order to think of ways to do science in with a minimal budget. Yeah, do things in a smart way. Use this instead of that. You know, cut down the procedure, do preliminary results here, you know, send the results here and then do another analysis somewhere else. You know, you can, instead of offering money, you can say, you know what, I'll do this service for you because we have this center in SQU that you guys don't have. This happened with in South Africa. We had some instrumentation in our department that they did not have in Durban Institute of Technology. So they did culturing and blah, 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 sent us the results. We did the analysis and then we worked together that way, right? So collaboration is key. Going to the second question, where do we start? I think we should start from preschool. In some countries of the world, programming is taught to grade 1 students. I was very happy with that. My kids are being taught ICT and programming in primary school, in private schools. I'm not sure if it's done in government schools as well, but they teach them how to program games and how to use, that's basic AI ideas and programming and math at a very young age. And I think the earlier it is, the better, definitely. And again, it's an integrated system. If we wait until the university level, I'm afraid it's going to be too late. It's going to be more like a Band-Aid effect. And that's not what we need. We need radical change, and it should start from the very beginning, from preschool.
Thank you, Dr. Lamya. I'll take another question from Mr. Haji Adam. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lamya. It's very comforting to see a person like you in the university, you know, with a future vision. Unfortunately, you know, if I may comment, you know, many of the problems you touched on have been known to us for almost 20 years or 25 years. And everybody agrees that there is a problem, but nobody, you know, took the initiatives to fix this. Whether you know, on the university level or the preschool level, don't you think that there should be a regulator in the country that assesses the output of university? Because Oman is spending a fortune on SQ and on higher education as well. So there should be somebody responsible, somebody assess the output of the university. My question is, with the modern technologies and remote learning and internet, and what is the future of universities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very intriguing question at the end. I agree with you. Well, to an extent. I think there has been a lot of improvements in the past years. I can see it in the schools. I can see it in the university. So, and I must say that the graduates are doing a great job. We just, as I said, I kept on saying throughout the talk that we're just greedy for more. We want more good examples out there. So I don't think it's a bad system. I think it needs to be improved a lot. And that's just because of our passion to always be the best. We do need KPIs. We hear a lot of success stories every day of Omanis who graduated, whether it's Sultan, Qaboos University or other universities, institutions, who are grabbing gold medals, first places in international competitions, international conferences. They are capturing lots of international awards. So when I speak of improvement, I hope I didn't give the impression that what we have is useless, because that would be unfair. But what I'm really focusing on is that how we can improve to be the a la creme, to be the cream of the coffee. We need KPIs. We need to assess our graduates before and after. So when they come in, maybe we can have some sort of entry exam to test skills, not knowledge. To assess, so basically you can have a set of skills, questions that assess critical thinking. So it just can be life questions. Right? And all these entry-level students can have these exams, sit these exams. You know how we accept students every year? They all sit And through a set of questions, exams, and these are available, we assess their critical thinking and problem solving techniques and tools. And then after 5 years, when they graduate, they take the same exam again, the same exam, and see how much they have improved. That will give us a good sense of how they're doing. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, about the universities, future of the universities.
Yes, I was trying to run away from that question. Well, you're talking about my job here. So I always tell my students, I said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to have a job in the future. I'm expecting not to have a job in the future. And I'm preparing for not having a job as a professor in the university. I also have a company called Coach for Change, and I provide workshops for oil and gas industry, for companies. I've worked with lots of government institutions. I've worked with ministers, undersecretaries, and top oil and gas managers and leaders in Oman. It's got nothing to do with biotechnology. It's got nothing to do with biology, but I thought I needed to survive. And that's why I forced myself to develop other skills. The future of higher education under the umbrella of Fourth Industrial Revolution, it's just going to be shifting roles. Instead of being the main pillar of education and the source of information, the source of learning, our job, according to my readings, will be facilitators. We will turn to facilitators. So instead of being the main educator, we're going to be facilitators, where we have more like workshop settings, where we only guide the students, and the real learning will come from the students themselves, with us guiding these students in the future. Right now, we're doing 90% of teaching, giving information, assignment, everything, right? But in the future, it's more going to be hands-on from the students, and we're going to turn into facilitators. And that's the predictions. And I gave a talk in Salalah a couple of years ago called الذكاء الاصطناعي مستقبل التعليم العالي في ظل الذكاء الاصطناعي. It resonated at the time, but now I can't remember the title. So basically, the idea was, what will be the role of higher education in the Fourth Industrial Revolution when we're going to be, surrounded by robotics? And the answer to most of the predictions and the reports is that we're going to turn into facilitators, at least for the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another question from Mr. Muhammad Al-Asbur. Please go ahead.
السلام عليكم مساء الخير. دكتور لميا, very insightful and fruitful and engaging. Most importantly, very engaging presentation. MashaAllah. My question is, with all this knowledge, I'm sure we have a lot of educated ناس with expertise and all. The problem is why we are not implementing this. What's stopping us from implementation? أنا بصراحة I'm not in favor إنه إحنا we need another مؤسسة أخرى. We have مجلس التعليم, we have وزارة التعليم العالي. أعتقد مؤسسات تكفينا من
OAAA.
Can you please tell us, since you're in the field, you are in the field and you are there and you understand the real بصراحة barriers for this. أنت عندك معلومات كثيرة. I'm sure في كثير من الناس عندهم النولج والخبرة والأفكار ليش ما قاعدين نطبق؟ What is stopping us from doing?
قلبت المواقع دكتور مهند.
Critical thinking.
Yes, we need solid decision making. Yeah, we need to decide. We should decide quick. But there are challenges, because as we said, that this changes very fast. So maybe it's taking very long. We all know that this is under the umbrella of Ministry of Education, Ministry of Higher Education, Majlis Al Khonji, right? So that's known to everyone. But I think because the change is so radical and the change is so dramatic and the change is disruptive, I think it needs studying, a lot of studying, which I think is happening through Majlis Al Khonji, but it also needs solid, quick, fast, daring decision making. I don't know how far the discussions are in these institutions. I'm not involved in any of them. I'm just an educator in Sultan Qaboos University, very passionate about it, but I'm not very aware of where we are. I know that there has been improvements in some aspects. Teaching, I think computing, more skills. I think drama was included in the schools, but it's taking really long, and I think it goes back to decision making. That's all I can say. We need brave leadership that says, that's it, we're changing. It's going to be scary, it's going to be messy, but it's going to be worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think it's the last question from Mr. Haider Dawood.
Thank you very much, Doctor. My question is, if you ask your student, if they ask you the question, why the COVID-19 is taking so many lives at a time you are talking about future jobs. You talked about so many future jobs that are very important for our generation and our children. But we find that small virus is killing thousands of people daily and affects millions of people a daily. What you should answer them? Who is living in the peace now? A family or a group of people in the desert with their small land, with the grass and with their animals, or a person who is every day is killing innocent people on their lands? Why these sciences destroying people, innocent people in the world, at a time we are trying to develop these sciences and nothing we got from these sciences, only problems, daily problems we are facing. So how, I don't know what will be your answer on this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haider. Science, just like everything else, just like politics, just like everything else, سلاح ذو حدين. Okay, it's a how do I say this in English? سلاح ذو حدين. It is a weapon with two ends, two sides, right? It can be used for the good, it can be used for the bad. Biology and science can be used to find solutions to medical problems, which is happening. It's saving billions of lives, it's increasing the life expectancy, it's treating cancer, it's saving lots of lives. But you can also create biological weapons that causes wars and kills people, right? But we cannot say that research and science is not helping us and it's the cause of all the misery of the world. That's humans. And that's why we need to create humans. It's a decision that the human makes to use a tool for the good or for the bad. Regarding COVID-19, there's research happening in COVID-19, even here in Oman. And there were findings that have been released locally led by Dr. Fahad bin Hamoud al-Zajali and Dr. Samira bint Hamad al-Mahrouqi and their research team, where they fully sequenced the genome of COVID-19 and they're currently linking it to mutations and seeing how they can fight it. So بالعكس, research and research is a tool to make the world a better place. It depends on the person, on the scientist. If you're a good scientist, you will use a tool to make a difference in a good way. And if you're a bad person, you will create biological weapons or cause chaos and cause the drones, for example. They can be used to pollinate trees and put a fire, and they can be used in killing people in wars. Is it the fault of science and research? No, this is the problem of the humans. So we cannot blame a system or blame a science for the actions of humans. And that's why I said at the very beginning of my talk that this is very important to create human beings, to educate our children and youth to have these life skills, emotional intelligence, social intelligence. We're coming back to the same points again, because this is not exaggerated. This is what makes a difference in the world, is by creating the ideal citizens.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lamya. And I think we have reached to the end of our session. Mr. Khalil Al Khonji, over to you, please.
شكرا دكتورة لميا على حضورك مجلسنا اليوم. أنا بتكلم العربي لأنه الموضوع كان له علاقة بالكورونا، لكن أنت نسيتينا الكورونا ودخلنا في نظام التعليم وقطاع التعليم، وكلنا استفدنا استفادة كبيرة بصراحة يعني، لأنك دخلتي البيوت ودخلتي المدارس ودخلتي لرياض الأطفال وهكذا يعني، وأهمية البداية من الصغر. لكن ونحن نتكلم الآن وأنت تحاضري يعني حالات الكورونا ما زالت في تصاعد. مع الأسف تقريبا اليوم مرة ثانية 900 حالة. شخصية مثلك أنت ملهمة يعني، تلهم الناس بالإيجابيات. ضروري أنه تستخدمي وسائل التواصل وتتحدثي للناس بأنه الرجاء المساعدة في تخفيض العدد، لأنه لا يمكن أي بلد تنمو إلا بتعاون الجميع. نرى دول كثيرة خاصة في الشرق ونحن شرقيين وصلوا الى الصفر. نحن الحقيقه نخجل لما نشوف هذه الارقام تتصاعد. انا وانت والجميع اللي موجودين لهم دور كبير في تثقيف الناس لمساعده الحكومه، مساعده الدوله في يعني القضاء على هذا الفيروس. ولن يتحقق ذلك اذا انتظرنا الادويه. ما نعرف الادويه، كل الدراسات تقول ربما سنه وربما سنتين، ومره واحده يلعبوا يعني نسمه. وضروري انه يكون هذا الدواء حاضر لجميع السكان. 7 مليار ونص دوز at one time، يعني we have to have it. فهذا الى ان يتحقق يجب ان يتعاون العماني مع المقيم بانه ياخذ الحذر، يسمع كلام الحكومه واللجنه العليا. فلك دور كبير يعني في هذا الموضوع. فمره ثانيه شكرا دكتوره على هذه المحاضره القيمه.
شكرا جزاك الله خير. ونحن نحاول، يعني اذا تسمح لي بما انك طرحتها بالعربي برد بالعربي، نحن نحاول تعاونت ايضا مع منصه شبكه التواصل الاجتماعي. الحين تغيروا الى عمان تتعافى، كان مستجدات كورونا قبل، فسويت بوستر ونزلت يعني طلب ايضا عن طريقهم، طلب الجهات الرسميه، وايضا نزلنا تغريدات. لكن بالفعل يعني احنا المفروض نكون نذكرهم دائما بالالتزام بالاجراءات او يعني توصيات اللجنه العليا، لانه فعلا هذا الحين خرج من سيطره الجهات الحكوميه وصارت بيد الشعب purely. يعني it is in our hands الان to be able to stop the spread of virus corona. It's not easy. يعني احنا المفروض نتذكر انه هو ما سهل، ان الكل يعاني من هذا separation, from this separation. But then we need to remind ourselves why we're doing it and how is the best way of tackling it moving forward. And as we go back to يعني our jobs and working in our lives, we need to remember that the virus is still there. Even it's more vicious than before. We're going back because we're trying to help the economy, but then we still need to be very, very careful in how we deal with the virus, because we can't afford any more lives or afford any more spreading of the virus. You're absolutely right. شكرا لك، وإن شاء الله نحاول نكثف الجهود.
شكرا جزيلا. شكرا. Mike, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Khalil. A very, very big thank you to Dr. Lamya. You have covered so much ground, and with some of the questions, this has been extended much further. I will try just to summarize in 2-3 minutes, please, because you've made me think, and I've documented an awful lot, and it will make me think and think. But I hope in my words, I can summarize some key points that you brought through that will benefit all of us to take into our own responsibility, our families and communities, and for Oman. Because, like you, I share the vision that with focused, proper education and research with the people of Oman, we have such a bright future. So some of the takeaways are, you started off with what do graduates need? And most of the discourse for the last 2 hours have been about young people. But I think graduates these days might actually start a bit younger, maybe 16, because below that you're learning basic skills. But I think it's a lifetime journey. And I'm not sure we finish at 24. I'm sure we don't finish at 24. And I think somehow our universities here and worldwide, and ourselves as the consumer, the student, whether we're young or older, have to somehow maintain our relationship with our university, yes, or different universities. Because when you gave the very good visual of the helicopter and the cameraman being replaced by a drone, the fingers, the Arabs, as we know, have a very good saying: when you point a finger, remember 4 are pointing back. And the lesson is upgrade yourself. We all have a personal responsibility. And then you talked about qualities that you admire more than skills: compassion, sympathy, empathy, kindness, gratitude, patience, self-awareness, sincerity, communication. The Omanis have this by the bucket load. They are a great people. So the platform, the soft, I don't know if it's soft skills or what skills, but the skills to work together are here. So we have the enablers in the people. And if you buy into the argument that graduates might include old men like me, maybe if we can all work together, we have a lot to share and to help absolutely the young people, because they are our future.
Absolutely.
And actually our legacy is not me. Mr. Khalil would be the first to say, not him, but it's our young people. It's our country. It's our community. So you then pose the point, well, how good are our educational systems? And you made a really good comment, which is you can only prepare for the future if you can imagine the future. This is a really good point, and I know in the business and the team that I'm part of, we probably don't spend enough time thinking about. We're probably spending too much time short term, but we need to do a little bit more long term, just like Sultan Haytham has done with 2040. Some people may say, oh, that's miles too far away, but at least there's a direction for relevant decisions now. And then you talked about the role of higher education in creating future-facing students. Start to dare, proud if you try, judge us on our efforts. And then you gave some inspiration in the sort of jobs that we're likely to see 20 years out. But they're already coming today. Already in some enterprises, we're seeing these analysts and other words, but you gave a long list of soft skills, a long list of technical skills, and it's so inspirational and exciting. Sorry, it's so inspirational and exciting because most of us have been afraid for the last 3 months with the coronavirus, but you're telling us there's going to be. So I want to come back to this point in a minute, because you asked the question, ask yourself, who will I be 5 years from now? And you're right, because of that hope, that inspiration you've given, what's the reason for your being? And you use this Japanese concept, and I'll probably say the word wrong, but ikigai or something.
That's
but
right.
It's great. But it's great because it helps us think. And I bet the Arabic has a word that would be as good as that Japanese word. But coming to a conclusion, it seems to me what you've inspired me, and I hope all of us, is the message I want to get across, is that maybe the student is a word we just associate with young people, but we need to continue education through our lives. And in Oman, we have a real opportunity today, I believe. Number one, we have young Omanis who have come back from the UK, America, Australia, France, God knows where, but wonderful universities. But how are they continuing their university here in Oman? I would imagine Professor Yusra and her team are doing everything they can to get these people into the university, to help them continue and to associate with other universities. This is one. Number two, we have a large number of people from government and military that are going into early retirement. Some of these people are as young as 45, 48, 50.
Yeah.
They have a life ahead of them. There are studies showing that some of the best employees are old men like me and them. So so why not? So if we come back to the point you started with, upgrade yourself. I add on to that, be self-reliant. I add on to that, be responsible for yourself.
Yes.
I add on to that, look after your sons and daughters. I add on to that, look after your community. And inshallah, all of us who are here in Oman, if we are, through our higher education, through wonderful people like you, you're a fantastic resource. With people like you, with leadership, and if we have the courses for the future jobs and opportunities that are coming, I think the social capital of Oman, great city, great people, great country, I mean, it goes on, right? Great Sultan.
Thank you.
Come on, let's step up. So thank you from all of us so much for your inspirational speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You couldn't have summed it up, I mean, better than that. I don't think I have anything else to add, but thank everybody for your patience. It's been 2.5 hours. You had to listen to me blab, and I hope it was enjoying for everyone. Thanks for people who hooked up from different countries of the world. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to joining the other talks. I've been hooking up and following the talks in the past weeks, and I've learned so much from Majlis Al Khonji, and I'm really glad to be part of it. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Lamya.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much, and we see you next Saturday with
Inshallah.
Zakaria from Al Bahrain about crisis management. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Looking forward. Shukran, Reham. You've been amazing, instrumental. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was very nice.
Thank you, Laura, for hooking up from London. I can see you have some sunshine there.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit sunnier now. Still early. No, it was a very nice talk, very inspirational. Also, I'm not working in education, but I still learned a lot. I'm glad I got up early for it.
Thank you very much. Laura and I did our PhD together in the same lab at UCL. So it's really nice.